Hi guys, next on the season preview list, we got the Houston Texans. All these guys are to their second season. Ryan's all brought their two coordinators with him. So yeah, like head coach got Tamika Ryan's. He had a really good first year as head coach. He helped them lead to the playoffs, helped them win a playoff game. Their defense is a lot better than it was last year, than it was the year before. And he was a great defensive coordinator with the Niners as well. So he's a good defensive coach. He's a good motivator. An offensive coordinator, you got Bobby Sloak, and our guy turned second year with the Texans. Before that, he worked for the Niners for 6 years. But he was a guy who had some potential. He had potential head coaching. He had head coaching interviews. I don't know if he got offered a job though. He helped CJ Stroud have a really good rookie year. He helped a lot of our receivers have good years, like breakout years. So yeah, he's a good another good OC. Assuming another a good year, he'll probably lead. He probably is gonna have a lot more offensive court head coaching position opportunities, and he might be gone. And behind him, he got Matt. I mean, at the defensive coordinator, you got Matt Burke. He he helped lead that defense a good year last year. It's like he did help Ryan's, of course, but like a lot of that probably was because of Ryan's. And still, he has been in the NFL. He has been since 21 seasons coaching in the NFL. So he's been a long time NFL coach. I don't think he's ever been a coordinator before this. I could be wrong. I didn't look that far into it. I just thought they get this on the Texans website as their coaching staff. They just had a lot of stuff about his last year and like a lot of minor jobs. And like this is his 21st season in the NFL as a coach. So yeah, you got him. So that's it for the coaching staff. A great head coach. You got a great offensive coordinator. Like you had a really good hire next offseason. So next we got their depth chart. So let's start their quarterback. Got CG Stroud. He had a great, awesome rookie year. He lost rookie quarterback songs this good year. He had 4,100 yards. He had 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's really, really good. I, I feel like he might have missed. Come on, we're just there we go. So he didn't play 2 games, so he could like if he had played all 17 games, he could have had over 27 touchdowns. I think it's still a rookie record. Like it's not, I think it's around 30, so he could have broken the record. Played all 17 games, so that's a really good year for a rookie quarterback. Nobody thought the Texans were going to be this good last year, and they did good. Behind him, he got Davis Mills. He's a fine backup. He like before they drafted Stroud, like the previous season, like I feel like that team might be their guy. Like he started at Host before after recent. They did have a great year, so he's a good backup. So and he can start if needed. Behind him, quarterback, you also got Case Keenum. He did have a really good year in 2017 with the Vikings, helped them lead to the NFC Championship game. But he's been struggling ever since. He's not that good anymore. He's a okay backup. But they did carry 3 quarterbacks last year, so they'll probably do it again. And behind them, you got Tim Boyle. He's a okay backup, but he's unless like he don't completely falls off because he is getting older. Boyle is not gonna make this roster. They're not gonna carry 4 quarterbacks, and I don't think he's gonna be able to beat out Keenum for their number 3. I could be wrong, but I just don't think he does. Now let's go to running back. When you made some big additions to this off, you're the wide receiver and running back. You add Joe Mixon right here, and you add Stephon Diggs, 2 really good guys at the position. So you got Mixon. Last year he had 257 carries, over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns on the ground. So he had a really good year. He's had a lot of good years with the Bengals, but he is 28, which for most positions isn't that old, but for a running back, that's pretty old. He's been in the league since 2017, so he is an experienced running back, but he's a good running back. So they're doing pretty good at running back. And even if Mixon struggles, You got Damian Pierce, former second round pick from 2022. He struggled with injuries last year. Like he only played 14 games. And then they had Devin Singletary. He had a breakout year with him that who's now gone. So unless he can be your number one if you needed, but at this point he'll be your number two, and he's a good number two. So then behind them you got Dare Bole. He's a fine number three. That's about it. He is 30. So then behind them, you got Gerard Jordan. I feel like Akers might not start the season right away healthy because he did tear his ACL last year, but I feel like Akers should make the roster over him. Jordan probably somebody on the practice squad. But Akers, like he was having a pretty good year last year with the Vikings before his injury. Like yeah, I was really liking him as a Vikings fan. Like I like when they originally said he was on, they were signing him until, but then kind of past physical. So I don't know what happened there, but obviously they didn't sign him. He's here now. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what happened. So, but it's like he played fine the first preseason game. So it's just like he seemed fairly healthy. So like, what's going on there with the Vikings thing? At a wide receiver, you are doing really good. Like that guy like Tank Dell is your number three. That's crazy. Like he had a really good year. Like they still won a playoff game, but they missed him once he went down with that injury late on in the year and missed the rest of the year. So number one, you got Diggs. Spent the past 4 years with the Bills. Before that, he spent his previous career with the Vikings. He's had a lot of good years, but hopefully he can build chemistry with Stroud quickly. But just like, how happy is he gonna be? Because the Texans have a lot of other good wide receivers, and he was not very happy in Buffalo or Minnesota when they weren't targeting him a lot. So we'll see how he does here. But he's a good number. Well, he's a pretty good number one. It wasn't that long ago where he led the league in receiving yards. Then behind him, you got Nico Collins. He had another good year last year. Like you stated him recently, so you don't have to worry about him leaving anytime soon. He's a good like as your number two. That's pretty good. Like have your number two last year to have 80 catches or almost 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. Like that's pretty good. Most names number two wideout do not have that good of stats. Like, I mean, he was obviously their number one last year, but now to have him as your number two. Then behind him, you got Tank Tell. You can tell they did miss him when he got injured late, but they didn't do terrible without him because they did still win a playoff game. But 11 games, he had 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Like if he played a full season, he was still gonna get 1,000 yards. Like yeah, and he's your number three. That's pretty dang good. Then behind them, they have him listed as your number four, Robert Woods. I feel like I feel like they're afraid of some extra cap space. They might release him before the start of the season and have him and just move up Brown, Mechie, and Skronik because Skronik's is a pretty good run blocker for a receiver. So like he'll find a way, and maybe even Xavier Hutchinson, but I feel like Hutchinson's more likely than not a practice squad guy. So I feel like Rod Woods probably is like might be a roster cut. I don't know, is a Zach Cap hit off the top of my head, but he's not as a number. It's not a huge deal because obviously you're not going to use up a lot more cap space in the middle of the season. But still, like he is 32. He didn't do much last year, and now moving further down the depth chart, he don't do anything less. But you might keep him just to have that older, experienced guy because our receiver room is pretty young. And Diggs is not that old, and like feel like he'll be more focused on a great play versus Woods as a backup. He can be more of a help develop the young guys. So I feel like no Brown finds a way to. I feel like no Brown and John Mechie find a way to beat out Woods. Mechie hopefully will be over Brown, but Brown has shown flashes. Like he has good years with the Cowboys, so he might find a way. They could find a way because you haven't seen much from Mechie, but he's also dealt with injuries. So yeah, then behind him you got John Mechie. He was a second round pick. He has not played a ton. So yeah, like he and this will be his third year, but he didn't play it all his rookie year because he had something involving cancer. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was, but and then he barely played last year. So like when you lose a whole season of your young career to injury slash mainly like when it's coming off of cancer, obviously your main focus is going to be on football. Your main focus is going to be making sure you survive that and can be even better. Then behind them, you got Ben Shronick. He's a good run blocker. They brought him from the Rams. He should find a way to make the roster. Hutchinson, probably practice squad guys. I'm practice squad guy, I should say. Steven Sims, he's a fine guy. He's not gonna make the roster though. They're not gonna carry that many rideouts. Like they have a good depth of wide receiver. Behind him, we got Johnny Johnson the third and Quintez Cephas. Cephas has actually done something Johnson hasn't, so Cephas probably be no, neither should make the roster, but Cephas might go practice squad guy, just have that extra depth. Yeah, then so that's it for my receiver. Next, let's go to tight end. Another good position group. You got Dalton Schultz. You brought him in from the Cowboys last year. He had some pretty good years with the Cowboys, and then he had another good year with them last year. And he missed 2 games, but he still had 59 catches for 635 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like that's a good year for tight end. And then behind him, you got relatively young guys, developmental guys at this point. But Jordan still only 24, but this is his fourth year, and he's never done much. But they also haven't really given him a ton of opportunities. He's okay backup. He shouldn't really be starting at this point. And then behind him, you got Cade Stover. He was a fourth round pick, but if he had gone in 2023, like he had gone out and did say extra year, a lot of people had him as maybe probably a third round pick. But he's 24, so he's an older rookie. And like Jordan's is going into his fourth year. He's the same age as Stover, which is kind of crazy when you see these older guys going to the NFL when first, plus third year guys are still younger than him. He's a fine guy. He's can develop. So yeah. Then you got Tegan Quintorial. I don't think he's gonna make the roster unless Stover is just terrible, which I don't think will happen. So Quinterio probably practice squad guy, but that's about it. So yeah, that's it for tight end. We'll skip fullback. It's not a huge deal. So go to their offensive line. Most of their guys are young. Like they got Kenyon Green and Juice Ruggs. Green is going to his third year. Ruggs is going to his second year. A lot of people thought he was overdrafted when they drafted him, but they still thought he was going to be a decent center. He had an okay rookie year, so if he can get better. Same with Green, because he was a former first round pick. But then you got a guy like Tunzo. He's a really, really good left tackle. Like, he's gotten older since then when they trade for him, but he's been well worth that trade. Just sucked when they lost that high draft pick because of it when they had a bad year before they got Stroud. But he's still a good tackle. Behind him, you got Blake Fisher. He's a fourth round. He's a second round pick, so he'll probably find a way. He's probably hopeful eventual replacement for Tunsil because he's. See here, Tunsil is 30, so he's still good, but he might not be here much longer. Every tackle's like Trent Williamson is an awesome, still future Hall of Fame level tackle in their late 30s. Everybody's like that. So yeah, Fletcher's probably eventual replacement for him, or Tunsil stay around for a lot longer. And you want Fisher starting, he can go to right tackle and replace Tice Howard. Like you're fine. Like you can get better than Tice Howard. So I already mentioned Kenyon Green. This is backup. You got Kendrick Green. You got two greens as your on your into your offensive lineman. He's a I think I'm pretty sure he's a he's a former Steeler. He has had to start, but you'd rather not have him to, so he's fine. Like, but you hope Kenyon Green gets a breakout here and does good. And then I already mentioned Drew Scruggs. You added Jarrett Patterson last year. It's a fine late round pick. It's about it, but he shouldn't you also but in that same draft you drafted Drew Scruggs in the second round, so you're not you shouldn't have Patterson starting it, but he should be a fine backup. Then you added Chris Reed. He's bad. He's okay. He never played at all. I don't think he played at all for the Vikings last couple of years, but still. In a right guard, he got Shaq Mason. He's still good. He's just dealt with some injuries. So we'll see if he can stay healthy. But if he does get injured, you can move Kendrick Green to right guard. You can play both guard positions. So you do have some versatility at backup. So I feel like he'll make your Bane backup guard instead of Dieter Eoselin. And he's not good. Nick Brocker he'll probably make the practice squad. Ladarius Henderson, he's not anything. At right tackle, you got Titus Howard. He's like Tunsil's really good. So like Howard's like your he's your probably your third offensive alignment as of now, just because he hoped Kenyon Green and Scruggs can develop more. But based off last year, he probably is. But Kenyon Green should be better than him. At least you hope at this point. So, but we'll see. Then behind him at tackle, you got Charlie Heck and Cameron Irving. They're fine backups. That's about it. But Fisher will assume he doesn't do terrible as a rookie. He'll probably be your backup both tackles as well. He can do both. So that's it for their offense. Next, let's go to their defense. You got Will Anderson. Did he win Defensive Rookie of the Year? He was near the top Defensive Rookie of the Year. Sorry, I can't remember if he for sure won it, but he had a really good rookie year either way. Then opposite of him, you added Daniil Hunter. He's had a lot of good years for the Vikings. A lot of good years for the Vikings. I wish that we didn't let him go, but so you brought him in on a 2-year deal. Pretty much all of it's guaranteed, so you might as well just call it 50 million fully guaranteed, because it's like 48, 49 million is fully guaranteed of 2 years. So like let's hey, that's barely a difference. Behind them at edge, you got Derek Barnett. He was a former first round pick. He's been fine, but he's another guy that dealt with injury, which was just why the Eagles let him go. And then you also got Danico Autry's doing suspension, but like as your fourth guy, potentially fifth if Hughes is still fine. But probably is Jerry Hughes. He is 35, 30. He's only 36 before the start of the season. Like he's pretty dang old. So we'll see, but he's still fine. But like as a guy who probably won't get starting time, depending on injuries, because injuries do happen, obviously, and they got a couple injury prone guys. And Autry is suspended at the start of the year, so he won't be back right away. So then behind them, you got Dylan Horton and Ali Gay, two young developmental guys, probably practice squad guys. Probably Horton makes the roster until Autry comes back, and then they might try to move Horton to the practice squad in the middle of the season just to make roster room for Autry. And Solomon Birdie shouldn't make the roster. So now let's go to defensive tackle. You got Mario Edwards. He's fine, but he is 30, and like he didn't not have that good of a year for the Seahawks last year. But he's fine. So we will see. But he has dealt with a lot of injuries. He hasn't played a full season in his whole career. He has never played a full season in his whole career, so he does get injured. But last year he did have 15 total tackles for 2 sacks and 1 forced fumble. So we'll see what happens. They brought him in. You hope um, for the zone, Fadakowski is your top defensive tackle, and like so he had a fine year with the Jags, like, but he didn't do much. Like there's a reason that they released him instead of trying keeping him to pay him, but he's fine. He is almost 30, but yeah. Then we had them. We got Tim Settle and Khalil Davis. They are what they are. They're not very good. And you got Metelvin Agam and Kurt Hinish at most practice squad guys. Same with Marcus Harris. So you don't have the greatest interior defensive line, but then you got great edge rushers. So it's kind of like you can probably move some of those edge rushers to interior defensive line, like some teams do because some edge rushers do sometimes play the interior, help that depth. Or if Edwards and Fadakowski just don't have good ears, like Daniil Hunter, he didn't do it on a consistent basis, but he has shown he can like blitz on the tier defensive line if needed. Like he did that sometimes with the Vikings. So now let's go to the linebacker group. You brought in the C's after year to replace Denzel Perryman, who left to free agency. So that should be an upgrade. Then you got two young former Alabama linebackers. D'Amico Ryans is a former Alabama linebacker back in the day, so he can help develop those guys, and they should get better. You kind of hope so. Then Harris he's a good starter. Tototal, you don't really know what he got in him yet. But like D'Amico Ryans is great at developing defensive players, and like he had some pretty good linebackers at San Fran. Like for the most part, guys like Warner and Greenlaw, it's probably mostly because of Robert Saleh. Because like when they had their breakout years, Saleh was still their defensive coordinator at the time for the Niners. But then behind them, you've got Nabil Hewitt and Jake Hansen, developmental guys at most. And then Jel Sean Phillips, and then you also get Jacob Phillips. I feel like Phillips might find a way, but at this point, these guys at the linebacker room are at most practice squad guys. Probably might not be even that. They don't carry that many linebackers. So that's it for their linebacker group. So now let's go to their secondary. You you have a recent you have recent draft pick from last year. I think he was he was one of their second round picks from this past draft. So he should be good. He is a Georgia cornerback. So this guy's can struggle a little bit coming right out of the rookie year. Georgia's cornerbacks tend to a little bit, but he's like Georgia cornerbacks usually tend to be pretty good, so he should be good. Might just struggle to start out the gate. But it's your number two. And number one, you got Derek Stingley Jr., who's another. He had a good year last year. Hopefully, he can be even better after another year under D'Amico Ryans and have another breakout year. And you're in slot quarterback, you got per, pretty good slot guy, slot corner, and Desmond King. He's had some really good years as a slot cornerback. So yeah, then behind him, you got two former first round picks bust, but they were former first round picks, so you hope they can be fine. CJ Henderson, he did not do very good with Panthers. I think he spent one in that like a little over one season with the Jaguars, who drafted him in the first round, then traded him for pretty much nothing. And they got Jeff Okuda, former third overall pick. I think he's shown some flashes with his last year. The Lions didn't do very good with the Falcons last year, but he's been fine. But he also dealt with a lot of injuries. And he also got Miles Bryant. It's okay. That's really about it. He'll I feel like if it's between him and Brian who make the roster, it'll probably be Chris Boyd, because he can be a pretty good special teams guy. Like that's the main reason he sticked around with the Vikings his whole time there. And then he's still signed with other teams because he's not going to be playing any corner. At least he shouldn't. Then you got Mike Ford Jr. He's okay. But then you got another younger guy in Troy Pride Jr., recent draft pick, but I think it was the Jets. So yeah, And D'Angelo Wash, he shouldn't make the roster. I feel like Trey Pride Jr. probably finds where he can make the press squad because he's still relatively young and he might get better. Snell's go to safeties. You have Jalen Purdy. He's a pretty good safety, and he's young, another young guy. Like this team is a lot of like most of this team's top players are young, like their skill positions. So they're pretty good. Then they brought in former Niners safety Jimmy Ward. He he had some good years in the Ryans and Sam Fran, so he's good too. So yeah, they brought him in. Oh, sorry, they brought him in last offseason. I had to think about that for a second. He had a good year. He had a fine year last year, but he also missed a lot of games. So can he stay healthy? Then if he doesn't, obviously hope he does. But he do got third round pick from this past draft, Caleb Bullock, so he can step in. Probably just won't be that good his rookie year because he was a third round pick for a reason. But he can. We also got Eric Murray. He's a fine backup safety. And then Lonnie Johnson Jr. He's okay, but you don't want him starting at this point because you know what he got in him and Stewart. Brandon Hill, youngest developmental guy. So yeah, that's it for their defense. They got a really good defense as well. And they made some big additions in Hunter and Alshier and some draft picks in Lattister, and you're hopeful eventually starting free safety in Keenan Bullock because Jimmy Ward is 33, so he probably won't be around much longer. So let's go to your special teams. Got kicker Cammy Fairbairn. He's a fine kicker. And then they brought in from the Chiefs Tommy Townsend, one of the top punters in the league. But it's not a huge deal because punters aren't going to make a huge difference in the roster. They can help pin down teams down deep, but that doesn't isn't a huge thing because like if your punter does a good job pinning teams down deep, it doesn't matter if your defense does terrible and still lets up a touchdown. But like if when they have a good defense, they can make up for a bad punter sometimes. Then returning your God Steven Sims, if he does make the roster, that's probably it. But then you also got a kick return. You got Damian Pierce, another guy that he might be starting, so they might not have him as a returner. And same to Tank Dell, so he probably won't be as a returner. Most teams don't have like one of their top starters play returners because they don't want to actually risk them getting injured. They could start doing that more with this new Korkak rule. But Desmond King the second has shown he can be a really good returner. So he can do that. I feel like that won't be the only reason Sims makes the roster. I don't think he's a good enough punt returner to be the only reason he makes the roster. The new long snapper, you get John Weeks. Oh, who cares? Sorry, I just don't care about long snappers. So yeah, that's it for their that chart. Next, let's go to their schedule. So now they got two. If they start the season off with two games, they should win. Colts and Bears. Those could be should be probably two tough games because Colts and Bears should be good this year. Bears should get a lot better. Colts should be good again. Then you got at the Vikings. They're gonna win that one. Like Daniel Hunter's probably gonna have a pretty good game because he's on playing his former team. I don't think they left them bad turns, but they still former teams, so you can call it a revenge game. Then you got Jaguars, another win. Bills are gonna be a really good game, but I feel like they have the advantage there of being at home. Then you got your game you should win against Patriots. Probably gonna beat the Packers. You're probably gonna sweep with the Colts just because they're unless the Jags is between Jags and Colts is number team in this division. Texans should be number one. But Colts are still fine. I mean, but yeah, those are two tough games right there. They should be able to beat the Jets because even with Rodgers back, I don't think they're going to be that great of a team. They'll probably make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to do a ton. Then you got the Lions. That's another really good game. Like the Texans have some good out of conference games this year. Like they got the Lions, they got the Cowboys, they got the Packers, they got so yeah, Bears could be good, but yeah, because they failed the NFC North. So then they got the Cowboys. They're probably gonna lose that one in Dallas, but I feel like they should beat the Lion. They could beat the Lions. Should beat the Titans. Probably, I think you'll sweep the Jags. Then you got your bye week. Should beat the Dolphins. Because at this point, they could be different. But this point in the season, they usually start struggling. At least they have the past few years. You got the Chiefs. They're lose that one if we're being honest. It's just Chiefs. They should be good. They should be a pretty good team again. As long as you got Patrick Mahomes, you don't be a good team. You should probably not lose the Ravens. It feels weird seeing them saying game on Netflix. But yeah, they're probably not lose the Ravens. They're not sleep the Titans. The Ravens game should be really good. Like they're not wanting some revenge again. The Ravens not coming out of the playoffs last year, but the Ravens should still be a really good team. So yeah, that's it for the Texans season preview. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a